if you're covering the Georgia Bulldogs, they should have a reporter just covering arrests for reckless driving and street racing. It's happened again for the fourth time this offseason and countless times, period, with the arrests with Smile Munden, linebacker, and offensive lineman Bo Hughley, arrested. Separate accounts, by the way, for street racing. The city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia, and I'm sure Athens is trying to do it as well. They have implemented statewide laws trying to crack down on street racing. And, Chad, every time I hear about this, it's from Athens, Georgia, and the Georgia football team. What's going on there? 4 driving-related arrests this offseason. Trevor Etienne, he was arrested in March. And most serious offenses there were dismissed. You have a wide receiver that was arrested in May, and now these 2. At what point do we see any just any follow-through on what's being said behind the scenes and publicly about any sort of crackdown? This is out of hand. And I don't see it across college football or across athletics. I see it with the Georgia Bulldogs. It's nuts.
Hutton, you want to know the grand
total? And
we've
seen deaths.
The grand total since 2023 alone, 2 years, 24.
Oh, wow.
24 traffic, speeding, reckless driving, DWI, combination of all of them. Crimes involving one's vehicle, 24 since 2023 for Georgia football alone. This is a major problem, a huge cultural issue for Georgia football. I'm beginning to think that it's part of the sales pitch when they recruit players. Hey, come to Georgia, compete for national championships, get drafted in the first round if you're on defense, and race cars that are street legal all you want in Athens, Georgia. The best racing scene in America. Come here, and it is Fast and the Furious SEC edition all day, every day. Does Kirby Smart sell this to recruits? Because he doesn't seem that serious about it based on his players constantly getting in trouble for it. Big problem. There's been deaths related to this, Hutton, as you mentioned. Yeah. But here's this is the unsavory truth about this and how it's going to be viewed. No Georgia fan cares unless they stop winning. If they're not competing for national championships, for SEC championships, then they'll care. Then suddenly there'll be a culture issue. Until then, business as usual.
But the public should care. The university
they should
care, not just the fan base. I don't know. The speeds vary, but, I mean, it's crazy. How you said how many in 2 years?
It's 24.
24. By the time we get to the regular season, what would that number be? 26, 27?
Remember, it's Mike Griffith, right, that wrote the story that got everybody all pissed off in Georgia about it?
Yes.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution did like a crackdown story on it, and then the reaction, it's very typical and standard from a fan base that they're mad at the reporter. They're mad at the outlet. Well, why are you making us look bad in reporting this stuff, right? That was the response from them. I'm with you, Hutton. It should be a bigger issue, but...
Well, the state's cracking down on it. They're penalizing those that are breaking this law even more than they were. And they recently passed, back in February, the Safe Streets Act, which targets directly reckless driving and illegal street racing, specifically. And all I see after this Senate Bill 10, all I see is that crackdown needs to happen in Athens. It needs to be a serious punishment because nothing's getting through from Kirby Smart and his crew. It's extremely dangerous. We know that. But it's treated like it's just like, kids will be kids. I mean, I drove too fast in high school one time. But I wasn't racing off of a public street where I'm at the stoplight and you're drag racing down a street, in this case. It's ridiculous, man.
We talked about Gundy earlier this week and his decision not to suspend Ollie Gordon for any games. And he walked through, hey, it's a business decision. College football is a business now. That's how I'm going to handle it. That's not a huge issue, and I understand his rationale behind it if there's no future problems with DWI on his team. If other star players and other players, suddenly there's a rash of DWI, well, you set the precedent that no one's getting suspended, so star quarterback continues to play. Star edge rusher continues to play. Your starting safety will continue to play. They don't really care because you've already said I'm not going to suspend anyone if they violate anything like this. That's where it becomes a problem. I don't know how Kirby Smart's going to decide to handle all of these issues or suspensions are coming or whatnot, but this is now an epidemic with Georgia football. It's past the point of, oh, wow, just some boys being boys down there and going and driving fast. It's a real problem. And I thought that he was very charming in how dismissive he was of it a year ago at SEC Media Days.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a decent job of disarming the media with his explanation of certain things. I don't think that should fly this go around at Media Days. You can't just walk this one back and act like it's no big deal.
Well, I'm right there with you. I mean, you mentioned the culture of this. I don't see this in Tuscaloosa. I don't see the headlines like this, especially at the great number that it continues to rack up in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, and I can't think of something.
There's got to be a focus on this.
I'm trying to think of something, Hutton, with one program and one specific issue, like street racing and driving too fast at Georgia. Well, there have been plenty of times where you've got a rash of different types of like domestic assault, and then someone gets a DUI, and then someone has a possession charge, and then there's different types of crime, though, involved in a crime wave with a college program, right? This has been a consistent traffic-related,
and then it's addressed,
speeding-related issue of 24 incidents over 2 years.
Well, it's more or less joked about than taken seriously, but I mean, some of the jokes are great, like this from Cam Newton Fan 69, which sounds like my AOL Instant Messenger username. The new feature in College Football 25 allows you to simulate the average driving experience as a UGA football player in Athens, Georgia. Check this out. I mean, this is...
I love the
simulation.
Lung dart being thrown around.
I mean, everybody recognizes what they're doing or what they're not doing in a crackdown. I mean, what's another someone else has to die in a wreck for us to take it seriously?
They got 3 big road games this year. The Georgia Bulldogs do. They go 2 Texas, 2 Alabama, and 2 Ole Miss. If they go 0 in those road games, then we'll hear about it from Georgia football fans. Boy, Kirby's really let this program slide. A lot of discipline issues in the offseason. All these guys road racing and doing that. They're not going to care unless Georgia's not competing for national championships. That's the only way that fan base cares. That's the only way places like the SEC Network or those that cover the SEC at ESPN will care, because they're in bed with the SEC, because the SEC makes them a lot of money, and they are now the de facto SEC network. Every other media outlet and every other fan base should care about this. It is a gigantic issue. And top of the list of who should care is one Kirby Smart. I hope he does. I'm not saying he doesn't, but he should if he hasn't taken steps to completely crack down on this, Hutton. He's got to right now.
I did see a recent headline about street racing. There was a USPS worker in a United States Postal Service truck street racing at over 100 miles per hour against a Mustang in Ohio. And the excuse was, I didn't realize I was going that fast.
What is he driving? A mail truck?
Yeah, he's in the USPS delivery truck.
Those things can go over 100 miles per hour?
I was shocked by that, too.
Did he soup up his own engine?
The deputy, so the footage shows this happened in Sandusky County, where a USPS van.
That's where most awful things
Drew
happen.
Brown is the guy's name. He's 28. He was caught racing through a 60-mile-per-hour zone, going over 100. And the deputy asked him, hey, is there a reason? This is on the body cam. Is there a reason why you're driving over 100? He goes, I didn't realize I was going that fast. Crazy. And then
it's a good response.
And then the officer replies,
flow of traffic.
The Mustang took off. He caught my attention, and then you blew by him. I was pacing you at like 105. I mean, crazy.
Flow of traffic.
Yeah, just flow traffic.
The Mustang was the only one in traffic, so I was just going as fast as him.
The USPS should handle this internally.
And nothing to see here. He will not be suspended.
He will not be suspended.
We will support him. We'll support him. He will be back on his shift tomorrow. Daryl has been great for this organization, USPS. I am going to punish him by making him work a double. He is going to deliver mail all weekend. I know we're not supposed to deliver on Sunday, but damn it, because of what Daryl did, I'm going to make him deliver more packages this Sunday. That's how we crack down at USPS.
Man.
That's how Kirby Smart will likely handle it, too.
The van
Smile?
also did not have plates.
You're going to play.
Plates.
Smile Munden, you are a first-round pick. I'm going to punish you by playing you in the opener this year, but you're going to play in mop-up duty. I don't know. Who does Georgia play to open the season? Do they play Clemson? Is that their first game?
It's Clemson, yeah.
Well, that may not be mop-up duty in that one.
That's a huge game for Clemson, too. It's nearly a 14-point spread right now. I've already tried to play these games as if we already know the result, Jack.
Well, he's probably going to pull the Gundy and pretend that the punishment is going to be when they play Tennessee Tech in week 2. That you're going to be out there with a fourth string. The scout team will be on the field in the fourth quarter.
If you're going to do
and you're going to play with them.
If you're going to do this, don't do any street racing the week of Tennessee Tech.
Yeah,
because you won't play in that game.
Here's how we're going to punish Smile Munden. You are going to play the fourth quarter of Tennessee Tech. You are then later in the year when we host UMass. You're going to play that entire game too. That will be your punishment. Heretofore, you will not sit even a quarter against Clemson, but you will play the fourth quarters of both Tennessee Tech and UMass. There's your punishment.
Smile Munden.
You're going to be so tired after that UMass whipping that you're not going to be able to street race that night.
By the way, I love the name Smile Munden. Yeah. His full name is Smile Simon Munden.
I don't know if it's a family name with a spelling, but I just wish, it's pronounced Smile. I wish that it was spelled
I don't know if the Greatest
Smile.
Generation has Smile and the family.
S-M-A-E-L.
Yeah. We had to look it up. The great Brent Hubbs clarified it for us.
Yes. Brent Hubbs, who we know never screws up any pronunciation.
Yes.
He nailed it. Smile Munden.
This is just a common sense issue that they should take care of or try to do more than what they're doing because it's not getting through. Another common sense issue that ESPN just can't understand. By the way, the ESPYs, did you have any clue that they were last night?
No clue. I always thought it was the day after the All-Star game.
Yeah, I did too.
It's always that's that one day that's completely dark with sports.
I
had
usually zero clue they were going on until you sent something, I believe, last night on a text chain. Or you were David.
Yeah, it was me. But
when I saw it,
when did they record this thing? Because it's not live.
Yeah, because they were playing back something else,
they were playing back a previous segment. They just ended abruptly.
Chad, I looked at the clock when I got that text. It was like 10:36 or something. That's the first time I knew the ESPYs had even aired.
Are you guys impressed that I'm staying up later now? Like I'm actually responsive after 11 p.m.?
I love it. Yeah.
Ever since I went to Nebraska, I've been up to like midnight every night. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world for me. I sleep till like 7:45, 8 a.m., which is totally different. I'm usually up by 6:30.
Now imagine coming back from Italy and you do this.
Yeah.
If you're at that time zone.
It'd be wild. I'd be up to a little bit of everything at that point. I had no clue the ESPYs were on. I did not watch a second of them.
It's for reasons that we're about to discuss.
I have seen the lowlights. of the ESPYs.
The low light, here's Venus and Serena Williams saying who can care about women's athletics and who is not allowed to.
So go ahead and enjoy women's sports like you would any other sports because they are sports.
Yes. Except you, Harrison Butker. We don't need you.
At all. Like ever.
I mean, at all like ever. It's one is a scripted joke and the other one's just nonchalant.
Well,
but they're not joking, and that's the sad part here.
Apologies for getting choked up there listening to that segment. It's not funny. First off, it's not great comedy. This is a constant issue with women's sports figures like Venus and Serena, like 95% of the WNBA, like 90% of the U.S. women's national team, probably like 85% of media members that cover women's sports on a regular basis.
Yep.
They're Fanta, and they should want to be Coca-Cola, and they're going to be stuck being Fanta because they want to limit who is fans of their sport. And here's the example. They also had a crack about, which wasn't as bad as this one, but a crack about, boy, Caitlin Clark is kind of like the new Larry Bird, but of the WNBA, and that, really dominating the game, and white people love her, and made a joke like that, which, quite honestly, is very true. I think most Caitlin Clark diehards that have gone to women's basketball, probably straight white people. But you know who I want to attract to my business if I'm the WNBA? Straight white people. Or
anyone.
Gay black people. Or bi Pakistani people. Because I don't give a damn. Because I want to sell my product to the masses if I'm a sports brand. That is the problem with Venus and Serena Williams, the problem with the WNBA. They want to limit consumption to only those people that agree with them on every topic, on every political stance, on every religious stance, on every stance of man and woman and everything else. So while Harrison Butker said something that is incredibly unpopular with most everyone today in America, I understand all of that. Doesn't matter. If I'm the WNBA, you know how I want in the seats? Harrison Butker. I want evangelical Christians in my seats. I want Jewish people in the seats.
Inclusion.
I want Muslim people in the seats. I want gay people in the seats. I don't care. Coca-Cola does not limit who they sell Coca-Cola to. They try to sell Coca-Cola to everyone, even those they disagree with politically. That's what the WNBA should do. They're never going to do it, though. They don't want, they've said it repeatedly, Hutton. We don't want your fans, Caitlin Clark. We don't want your fans that are in our Twitter mentions. We don't want your fans that don't like Angel Reese and her talking trash. We don't want your type. We don't want your kind. Middle America, conservative Republicans, Christians. We really don't want you. So step aside, Harrison Butker. Don't care that you're speaking at a commencement at a Catholic school. We don't want your kind here. That is not how you grow a business. That is not how you grow a brand. The WNBA is hot right now. Capitalize on it, everyone. Women's sports figures, capitalize on it. You've got a new audience. You got straight white people watching the WNBA maybe for the first time ever. Capitalize on it. If they're drawn in by Caitlin Clark and they like what they see in a rivalry with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, who the hell are you to disagree with that? That's only going to help your sport. They got to realize that at some point. And they're not going to.
No. And we're still watching Caitlin Clark, you know? And they still have the charter flights for the first time, except for they had 2 franchises that were doing it. Now they get that. They're about to negotiate their CBA with their union for the first time. And Caitlin Clark's value is going to factor into that. They're not going to turn that away. But they want coverage from a certain standpoint. And
it's okay for them to cover to watch. Harrison Butker, we don't want you, not like ever, as the actress said there. And like ever, never, we don't want you. That's not a great way to sell your brand or your sports. And I bet the Venn diagram is pretty strong and large between those that made Harrison Butker the highest sold jersey in the NFL after that speech and those that watched the WNBA for Caitlin Clark. I bet if you combine those two from Iowa to Kansas City, Missouri, it's a pretty large swath of people that are now watching the WNBA that you just told, we don't want you. Screw you. Don't sit in the stands. Don't watch on television. We don't want you, Harrison Butker, or anyone that supports him.
See,
that is the wrong stance, and it's why they'll never be Coca-Cola.
So this is also where part of me says, well, if there's a comedian up there ripping on players that I may or may not like, it doesn't matter. I understand what they're doing, right? They're looking for the reaction. In this case, this was very deliberate and scripted, rehearsed, and then off the cuff, you hear, was it Serena that underneath the breath says, like, at all ever at the end?
It was the actress, Quintana Brunson, I think it is.
Well,
Elementary.
Point being, like, in the anti-cancel culture stance, do whatever you want, but if you want inclusion, include everybody. If you want inclusion, well, don't cancel Budweiser either. You know what I mean? Or Bud Light.
And the difference is, if it was
just
a comedian,
do what you want to do.
If it was, and it doesn't matter the race, if it was Bill Burr or Chris Rock or Norm Macdonald, rest in peace, or Shane Gillis, they could have made a joke about Harrison Butker that would have been really funny about, keeping women in the kitchen or whatever, like Harrison Butker, and it would have been funny, and everyone could have laughed at Harrison Butker, but all laughed together also. And instead, Venus and Serena, who are 2 gigantic figures in all of women's sports.
Yes.
Not from a basketball standpoint. women's sports, they are two of the biggest names of all time. They are telling you, we don't want you watching women's, not just WNBA. We don't want you watching women's sports.
That one person.
We don't want you. Yeah, but that's also flying in the face of everyone who believes as fundamentally in the Bible as Harrison Butker does. And what he's saying in that speech.
He's speaking to a Catholic audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there are plenty of people who have no problem with what Harrison Butker said and understand what he was, the point he was making.
Well, look, someone wrote that, right? I don't think that was Venus or Serena Williams that wrote that
the
joke
off-the-cuff comment afterwards was...
The off-the-cuff from the actress, who I don't really care, but make it funny. Like, if you're a writer for that show, there are ways to gig Harrison Butker that doesn't have one of the biggest figures in women's sports history saying, we don't want you as a part of women's sports.
So,
like, you could have said, hey, you can come play me in tennis, or something, Harrison Butker, and the winner gets to decide the fate of all women from here on out. That would have been something that would have been a little bit more lighthearted and funny than just, we don't want your kind. That's all I hear.
Can you
imagine?
Monica
McNutt, all these diehard W writers and media members.
Yeah, if you say W, that's who you're referencing.
The W media members, the players that have been in the league for the longest time, the stars of the WNBA, all I keep hearing, Hutton, is we don't want your kind. If you don't agree with us on every stance of the LGBTQ plus community and all race relations and everything else, we don't want you.
Well,
stay away. Caitlin Clark fans, we're threatened by you. Don't watch our product. Do not even think about going to Ion to watch a single game because we don't want you. I found Ion.
This is one of the reasons why I don't know when the ESPYs are on.
Look, we got the Hawk-Tua girl here out there in the window.
Is that her?
It does look like her, doesn't it?
I can't see, Chad.
Yeah, it does look
the
like
glare,
her.
I can't see.
Yeah.
If that's really her, we need to be active on.
It's not, but she does look just like her. I forget that I'm the only one that can communicate with people in the window. See, I can wave. She'll wave right back.
I see nothing but it looks like a mirror.
Yeah.
I see a reflection of Davey and Colin.
It's like we're animals in the zoo.
I look over. You say the Hawk-Tua girl's here, and I see Colin over here.
I kind of like it. Yeah. Hawk-Tua's. Colin's got her on speed dial. Colin just shot her a text.
Chad, what you're saying is the reason why I don't know.
Some sort of party. They've got like a T-shirt on with something on it. Yeah,
I'm sure it's a bachelorette party.
What does that say? Let me see your shirt.
If you do that, they're going to flash you.
I drink tequila like it's water. It says.
Look at this.
Yeah,
Davey, is this Isabella? You can pretend it is.
Davey's like too tall. Go ahead, Davey. What's wrong with her? Tell us. You got some problem with her.
Right?
Yeah. This girl, she's really trying to get in here.
Would you? Do you think this is looks like the Hawk-Tua?
We got a different shirt.
Her says blackout with my rack out. How about that? Now
Dear
that's an impressive shirt. Can we see the other shirt, please? Yes, you, ma'am, the brunette.
She's the
sunglasses.
This one says.
Let me see yours. What does it say?
It says Hawk-Tua.
Santa's angriest elf. Oh, because she's short. I got it. Yeah, she's shorter than the other ones. Those other women are very tall. Are they WNBA fans? Do you think they can find Ion?
I bet they know who Caitlin Clark is.
I bet they know. The one's about as tall as Angel Reese out there, too. So they may know her.
Would she make more layups than Angel Reese?
I don't know.
So here's the thing. How crazy is this? Angel Reese leads the league in offensive rebounds by like 30 over any other player. And Caitlin Clark leads the league in turnovers by like 45 over any other player in the league. That is nuts.
The Caitlin Clark thing doesn't surprise me when I watched her first couple of games.
Oh,
because it was a turnover fest.
The most well-known players. I mean, the offensive rebounds are coming from missed shots, and you're getting your own offensive boards because she leads the league by far in offensive boards too. But thinking about how rough that is to watch to begin with, you need everyone tuning in. Ion needs this.
The latest shirt says certified cougar over there, but she's like 25 years old, so I don't. There must be a joke there that I just don't understand. It's an inside joke. She's very young. See you, ladies. Bye.
The Angel Reese shooting percentage, this has now changed. She's actually increased her shooting percentage by a couple of percentage points.
Okay.
But there for a minute, she had a lower field goal percentage than Jonte Porter did with his last year with the Raptors.
Oh, that's amazing.
Jonte Porter.
How many shots did Jonte Porter actually attempt?
It's a good question.
Because he tried to miss them. That's what's funny about it. He tried to miss these shots on purpose to rig these games, which he did well.
There's some funny footage of Angel Reese just missing layup after layup and going like on the other side of the goal to collect it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Dennis Rodman did the same thing, though.
But here's the
one of my all-time favorite players, Dennis Rodman.
Here's the thing, too.
The worm.
The thing I love about sports is I can go across the river here in downtown Nashville and go to Nissan Stadium, and no one cares about who they're sitting next to. But here comes the push of the narrative that we should care. Like Serena and Venus Williams are going to somehow find out if anyone in their grand suite at the same game I would attend, but they're at the 50-yard line, is going to agree with Harrison Butker on whether or not they can be allowed to go in that suite. I mean, that's what they're saying. I only care if you're not in line with this. It's so stupid, based on where we are and everyone wanting to be included and accepted. We'll allow that to happen on both sides.
I think Venus and Serena would have Harrison Butker kicked out of a Wimbledon match if they saw him right next to the court as it's happening.
They would be
US
treated
Open,
like
Harrison Butker's there. I can't perform with him around.
They would be,
He's offended me too much.
Was it Kanye that was kicked out because? Who was up above? It was another artist was in the suite right above them. It was Taylor Swift, right? Taylor Swift was in the suite. Kanye's right below it. And she had him kicked out. He was wearing a mask or something.
How do you think you'd be treated at a WNBA game if you wore a MAGA hat into the game?
I mean, honestly.
Do you think someone would say something to you?
No. Well, yes, someone would say something to you, but they're not going to keep you out.
I would hope. I think they definitely let you in, but would they say something? There's a whole bit on Curb Your Enthusiasm where
the
Larry
season
David,
ticket holders would say something.
Well, Larry David wears a MAGA hat to restaurants in L.A. just so people won't sit next to him. So he wants like the best seat at the counter. So he wears the MAGA hat in, and everyone in L.A. will scatter.
Chad, what if you did that?
So you get room by yourself?
You sat in steerage. What if you want the middle seat open on the Southwest flight? What if you did that?
Depends on where I'm flying.
Where you're flying from.
A flight to Nashville, I think people would want to sit next to you.
Well,
I think if
where
I'm
you're
flying to
from.
LA or San Francisco, you'd probably get a seat by yourself if you wore that hat. Hutton, I was just on a flight from Nashville to Omaha, and from Omaha to Nashville. I can tell you those flights were fine with the MAGA hat.
No doubt. But I'm saying, like, if
guy next to me listened to Tim McGraw.
If you're flying
the entire
to or
time,
from
I saw it on his
San
phone.
Fran,
That's
New
all
York,
he was listening to.
I mean, if you're flying to Bristol, Connecticut, if you did that, no one's going to sit in that middle seat.
No, probably not. It's a good way to get
Harrison Butker would
get
sit
people
next
away.
to you.
Right. I think that like Angel Reese, if she
Bill
spotted you
Belichick
with a
would sit
MAGA
next
hat
to you.
on, would probably
Tom
scream
Brady
at
would
you
too.
from the court.
So funny to think about.
Bob Kraft.
Yeah, all of them. But they would have to pretend like they wouldn't.
Exactly. They would never say it
But
aloud.
remember, the MAGA hat was in Brady's locker every day. Remember that?
I think in the beginning it was.
Yeah, but
then,
well, no, during the campaign, the first campaign.
I know you haven't seen it yet, but that Apple docuseries.
Yeah.
Devin McCourty. Devin
played for the Patriots.
Devin gets into it a lot. A lot of those players in that team really hated it.
Sure.
And they talked about it now. They're like, we were seen as Donald Trump's team.
Other than Green Bay.
Because of Robert Kraft and Tom Brady, and that was not most of the team at all. So I think it did cause some issues. That was the year they got to the Super Bowl and lost, I think, to the Eagles. Was when all that was going down. Was the 2016 election.
Chad, Paul Skenes set to start the All-Star game. I've been saying he's worthy of this. It comes the day after he had a no-hitter going through 7 innings, and he was removed from the game, and the Pirates gave up 2 runs immediately after. But starting for the National League, this is perfect for building what can be a superstar and viral moments for Major League Baseball because they need it. Aside from let me say it from the guy's perspective here. 40-year-old dude. I want to feel like I'm watching an All-Star game of yesteryear, of 20 years ago, and 25 years ago. What I mean is, I want to see straight heat from the mound against the best hitters in baseball, the best hitters, period. And we will get that because the only guarantee we're going to see it is in that first inning against Aaron Judge and the crew. And it reminds me of Pedro Martinez. And he mowed down the top hitters in the steroid era in the All-Star game. And Greg Maddux isn't throwing heat, but he's facing the best hitters too, and he's doing it great. I love that. And that will be competitive. And it's the moment where you can show Livy Dunn as much as you show Paul Skenes. And they should do that too. It's going to be annoying. Baseball needs that. They need the social media clip push. And Livy Dunn can do great things for that league that has not embraced the social media era really at all. They hate the vlogs. They don't like anything behind the scenes that gives away the sanctity of the sport, which is just dumb because everything is online now. The TV networks are failing with their current TV setup. They need more of the online push and the quick 10 to 15 second hits. They get that with this, and they can build more and embrace more with a couple that's going to do it. They're not at the level by any means of Kelsey and Taylor Swift. But can you help build to get closer to that in your own sport? Yes. And I've been one that said if Taylor Swift was dating a Major League Baseball player at the time, they wouldn't show her nearly as much as what we saw when she showed up and was in the suite with Travis Kelce's mom as the Chiefs hosted the Chicago Bears. And everyone tuned into it in a 41-10 blowout. That's like a 13-1 Major League Baseball game in the fifth. And I'm not sure Major League Baseball would know what to do in that moment. They have that shot now. And they didn't have to manufacture it because we don't have to sit here and make excuses for why he's starting. Because the dude is legit. And he's joining an incredible club of rookies starting an all-star game. So well done by this and capitalizing on what he did yesterday. Chad, now they have to capitalize moving forward. They can be more relevant, and they can hit the fast-forward button. They can hit the cheat code with them. And Skenes isn't going to let them down. He's going to mow them down like we would expect him to. And the top hitters are going to try to crush it. I love that. I'll be tuning into that. That's the only reason I would tune into the All-Star game on time. And while I love the home run derby, and I'll be watching, I'm tuned in now to the All-Star game instead of just flipping around and checking the score and seeing who's at bat and it be 3-1 and I don't really care by the sixth. Now I do. And it's a best chance opportunity for them. And they have it right in the middle of the season. It's fantastic. Now they need the Pirates to get to the postseason.
Yes, that would be beneficial.
You with me on this?
May 6th, 1998. I don't know if that date means anything to anyone else. I was in high school at the time. That is the day Kerry Wood struck out 20 Houston Astros in a day game early in the season at Wrigley Field in Chicago. I remember talking about this with buddies the next day at school. I feel like I remember knowing it was going on even during the school day, and this is pre-social media, pre-cell phones, pre-all of this.
The history teacher helped you.
It's like everyone was talking about, hey, he's got 15 strikeouts, he's got 16. This is a historic day with Kerry Wood, rookie flamethrower that you felt like was going to have a huge career. Paul Skenes has those Kerry Wood vibes to me, Hutton, as a rookie in the league that immediately is maybe arguably the best starter in Major League Baseball right out of the gates. So to have him starting that All-Star game, it has the excitement level of a Kerry Wood. I'm trying to think of other phenoms. Hideo Nomo.
That's a good one.
Is one I think about. You go further back, Fernando Valenzuela, and I know there was international appeal with those guys, but Paul Skenes has an excitement factor, and you pair it with Livy Dunn. I love this for baseball. And I'm with you, Hutton, and we have constantly talked about and criticized baseball's reluctance to accept anything outside of their norm when it comes to marketing and blowing up in the pop culture space. Here's an opportunity for them with him starting this game. And it makes the start of this game much more interesting to me.
And it's in terms of just recognizable franchises. How often do you really think about the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Not since the 70s, probably, as a dominant type franchise in the game.
Think about this from the Kansas City Chiefs perspective. How often did you think about the Kansas City Chiefs pre-Patrick Mahomes?
Not since Lynn Dawson.
But it's kind of the same dynamic.
Yeah.
And the Pirates are building through the draft. I mean, again, like they have that momentum. Now here's hoping they get that kick in the ass from the league and you just embrace it. and go along for the ride. You don't even have to manufacture it. Just go along for the ride because the league hasn't been doing that.
Yeah. And it's also
and then he's going to be on ads. He'll start name, image, likeness with Livy. All that. She's already a national brand. Endorsing national brands. Think about what Skenes do. How often do you see Aaron Judge pitching a product on TV? I don't. We're seeing Arch Manning, a backup quarterback in college football, getting paid to do something.
It's also it's new exposure for an organization and a fan base that does have a big following. I'll give you an example.
Think about the exposure of Livy Dunn embracing it.
She'll embrace it. Speaking of Livy Dunn, at LSU. By the way, she's coming back for a fifth year or sixth year.
Is it a 6th year?
One of the two, but she's coming back to be a gymnast at LSU again.
Last chance at the COVID extra year or whatever.
So I'm going to go to Louisiana for this parallel.
Okay.
When the Saints won the Super Bowl with Drew Brees and Sean Payton over the Colts in 2009.
In the rain? Was that the rain game?
No,
anyway.
that was the Colts beating the Bears in the rain.
That's right.
But the Colts lost that one. Remember, they went for the onside kick to start the second half, and the rest is history. Saints won it. Hutton, I didn't know a single Saints fan before 2009. And during that run, Saints fans were everywhere. And then all those different feel-good pieces about the city coming back from Hurricane Katrina and everything else. I'm like, man, that whole region in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Southern Alabama, that is a huge New Orleans Saints territory, and they've got a big fan base down in that part of the country. I think the Pirates could be kind of that same thing.
Yeah.
Where they start to get good, and you're like, oh, man, the Pirates, that PNC Park's kind of rocking. That's fun to watch.
And embrace anything that happens that way.
Yep.
That's what the league needs.